Jake wiped the sweat from his forehead as he walked deeper into the ancient ruins. The underground chamber stretched far beyond what his helmet lights could reach. Dust floated in the air, untouched for thousands of years until he arrived. His boots echoed against the stone floor with each step. Forge Station 7 had sent him here 3 days ago. They needed someone to salvage old alien technology from these ruins. Jake was a metal worker and smith, good with his hands and better at understanding how things were built. The ruins belonged to some old civilization called the Empire. Nobody knew much about them except that they disappeared a long time ago. The tunnel opened into a massive cavern. Jake stopped and stared. In the center of the space, suspended by nothing he could see, floated a huge crystal structure. It glowed with a faint blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. The crystal was easily 30 feet tall and 20 feet wide. Jake moved closer, his scanner already working. The readings made no sense. The crystal was giving off energy, but not from any power source he recognized. He walked around it slowly, trying to understand what he was seeing. Then he saw the creature inside. Jake jumped back, his heart racing. Something was trapped in the crystal, something big. He forced himself to look closer, pushing down his fear. The creature looked like the dragons from old Earth stories, but clearly alien. Its body was at least 40 feet long, covered in scales that shifted between deep purple and midnight blue. 4 powerful legs ended in claws that could tear through steel. Wings folded against its back, too large for the crystal prison. Its head was massive, with horns curving back from its skull. The creature's eyes were closed. Jake checked his scanner again. The readings showed life signs, weak, barely there, but alive. This thing had been here for who knows how long, frozen in time. Jake looked at the walls around the crystal. Symbols covered every surface, carved deep into the stone. He pulled out his translation device and pointed it at the nearest wall. The device struggled with the ancient language, but slowly words began to appear on his screen. Warning, dangerous prisoner. War criminal, do not release. Jake frowned. He moved to another wall and scanned more symbols. This time the translation was clearer. Of the refused service to the Empire, sentenced to eternal imprisonment. More scanning revealed more pieces of the story. Had protected some colony from the Empire. He fought against their armies. They captured him and put him here as punishment and warning to others who might resist. Jake sat down on a broken pillar and thought, a political prisoner, someone locked away forever because he stood up to a government. The empire was gone now, had been for thousands of years. But this creature was still here, still trapped. His scanner beeped. Jake looked at the readings and his stomach dropped. The crystal prison was failing. The energy keeping it stable was running out. In a few days, maybe a week, the whole thing would collapse. The creature inside would die. Jake should report this. Call his supervisor, tell the Galactic Council. They would send scientists and soldiers. They would study the crystal, maybe try to keep the creature locked up. Or they might just let it die. After all, the warnings said it was dangerous. But the more Jake read the ancient records, the more wrong this felt. Had not committed any crime. He just refused to be a weapon for an empire that wanted to conquer everything. He protected people who could not protect themselves. They locked him away to make an example of him. Jake stood up and walked back to the crystal. He put his hand against its surface. It felt warm, almost alive. Inside, the creature remained still. Every being deserves freedom. His mother used to say that. Every thinking, feeling creature has the right to choose their own path. Jake believed that. It was why he left Earth, why he came to the frontier. He wanted to live free, make his own choices. How could he leave here to die? How could he let the council lock him up again? The creature had been in this prison for centuries, maybe thousands of years, alone in the dark, forgotten. Jake made his decision. He would free. It went against regulations. It might cost him his job. The council would be angry, but it was the right thing to do. He spent the next hour studying the crystal prison. His skills with metal and machines helped him understand the alien technology. The crystal was not just stone. It was a machine, powered by energy cores hidden in the cavern floor. The cores were failing, breaking down after so long. Jake could work with this. He knew how to redirect energy, how to shut down power systems safely. It would take time and careful work, but he could do it. He set up his tools and started planning. The energy had to be released slowly or it would kill. The crystal would need to dissolve in stages. Jake calculated angles and power flows, making notes on his. The 3 days, that is how long it would take. 3 days of careful work, hopping nobody from the station came looking for him. Jake was on his second day of work when it happened. He was redirecting power from the Northern Energy Core when movement caught his eye. Inside the crystal, eyes had opened. Jake froze. The creature was looking at him, really looking with intelligence and awareness in those ancient eyes. They were golden, like molten metal, and they focused entirely on Jake. A voice spoke in Jake's mind. It was not words exactly, but he understood the meaning. The voice felt old, tired, but still strong underneath. Free me, small one, and I shall remember. The third day arrived with Jake exhausted but determined. He had barely slept, working through the nights to free. The energy cores were now balanced perfectly, ready for the final shutdown sequence. Jake checked his calculations one more time. If he did this wrong, the crystal could explode. Or worse, the sudden power drain could kill after surviving for so long. Everything had to be exact. He activated the sequence. Energy began flowing out of the cores in controlled bursts. The crystal prison started to glow brighter, then dimmer, pulsing as power drained away. Cracks appeared on its surface, thin lines spreading like spider webs. The process took 2 hours. Jake watched every reading, adjusting power flows when needed. Sweat ran down his face despite the cool air of the cavern. His hands never stopped moving across the controls. Finally, with a sound like breaking ice, the crystal shattered. Pieces fell away, dissolving into nothing before they hit the ground, dropped heavily onto the cavern floor. Jake ran forward. The great creature lay still, breathing but weak. Up close was even more massive than Jake thought. Each scale was as big as Jake's hand. The claws were like sword blades. Can you hear me?" Jake asked, kneeling beside's head. The golden eyes opened slowly. The voice returned to Jake's mind, stronger now, but still tired. I hear you, small one. What is your name?" Jake, can you move? Do you need water?" "Water, yes. I have not tasted anything in so very long." Jake pulled out his emergency water supply and a portable hydration unit. He set it up near's head. The dragon drank slowly, carefully, as if remembering how. Over the next hour, Jake provided nutrition supplements and monitored vital signs. The dragon grew stronger with each passing minute. Finally, lifted his head and looked around the cavern. I am free. After 3,000 years, I am finally free. 3,000? Jake whispered. You were in there for 3,000 years. Yes, I remember the day they sealed me in crystal. I remember my rage and sorrow. Then nothing but darkness and dreams until you came. Jake felt sick thinking about it. 3,000 years alone, aware but unable to move or speak. It was worse than death. His mind voice grew warmer, almost gentle. But you freed me, Jake. You did not have to. You gained nothing from it. Why? Because it was wrong, Jake said simply. You did not deserve to be locked up forever. Nobody does. It was quiet for a long moment. Then he slowly stood, stretching muscles that had not moved in. His wings unfolded, scraping against the cavern ceiling. He was magnificent and terrifying at the same time. My people have a tradition, Jake. When someone saves a life, that owes a life debt. My life belongs to you now. I will serve you until my death. Then no, Jake said immediately. I don't want that. You're free. You don't owe me anything. As head tilted, confused, you refused the debt. But you freed me. By law, I must serve you. Then change the law. I freed you because you deserved freedom, not because I wanted a servant. Jake could feel surprise through their mental link. The dragon had never encountered thinking like this before. Your species is strange, Jake, but I see honor in you. Very well, not servitude, but partnership. I pledge myself as your protector and friend. Your enemies will be my enemies. Those who threaten you will face my wrath. Before Jake could respond, alarms started blaring. His communication device buzzed frantically. A voice crackled through, panicked and angry. What the hell did you do? We are detecting a massive energy signature at your location. Respond immediately. Jake recognized the voice. Lisa Grant, his supervisor. He pressed the transmit button. Lisa, I can explain. I found something in the ruins, someone actually. He was imprisoned and I freed him. You freed what? Our sensors show something huge down there. We are sending security now. Do not move. Jake looked at. We have company coming. They might be scared of you. Please let me talk to them first. Don't hurt anyone. I will follow your lead, friend Jake. But I will defend myself if attacked. Fair enough. 10 minutes later, Lisa arrived with 6 security officers. They all carried weapons, though Jake noticed the weapons were lowered when they saw. Probably because shooting at something that big seemed pointless. Lisa stared at with wide eyes. What is that thing? His name is, Jake said firmly. The Empire imprisoned him 3,000 years ago because he refused to fight for them. The prison was failing, so I freed him. You freed a prisoner? Lisa's voice went up. Without authorization, without even asking. Or would you have let me? Jake asked. Lisa opened her mouth, then closed it. They both knew the answer. She would have reported it to the council, who would have kept locked up or killed him. One of the security officers spoke up. Ma'am, I'm reading warnings all over this cavern. The records say this creature is dangerous, a war criminal. This voice entered everyone's mind at once, making them all jump. I am no criminal. I protected the weak from the Empire. They imprisoned me to break the resistance. Jake freed me because he saw the injustice. I owe him my life and my loyalty. Lisa looked between Jake and, can everyone hear him? Telepathy, Jake explained. He speaks directly to your mind. Lisa pulled out her communicator. I have to report this to the Galactic Council. This is way above my authority. I understand, Jake said. But please tell them the truth. Was a political prisoner. He protected people. That's not a crime. Lisa nodded slowly. I'll include everything in my report. But Jake, you realize what you have done. The council will send ships. There will be investigations. This could cause major problems. I know, but I would do it again. Moved closer to Jake, his massive body radiating heat. I am grateful, friend Jake. Whatever comes, we will face it together. The security team kept their distance but did not threaten. Some of them even looked impressed rather than scared. Frontier workers respected bold action, even when it broke rules. Lisa finished sending her report. The council response team will arrive in 2 days. Until then, stays in this cavern. I'm posting guards, but they're here to keep others out, not to keep him in. Is that acceptable? It is, responded. I will not leave until Jake says I should. As the immediate crisis calmed down, Jake sat beside and shared his food rations. The dragon was curious about everything, asking questions about humanity and the current state of the galaxy. Jake answered as best he could, amazed at how intelligent and thoughtful was. The records called him a monster, but sitting with him, hearing his thoughts and memories, Jake knew the truth. Was a guardian who had stood against tyranny. He deserved freedom and respect. Hours passed. Jake eventually fell asleep against Swarm's side, exhausted from 3 days of work. The dragon kept watch, protecting his friend. Then, just before dawn, sensed something. His head lifted, eyes narrowing. Long-range sensors in the cavern started beeping. Lisa ran in. "We have a ship approaching, fast, very fast." The council response? Jake asked, waking up. "No, this is coming from a different direction." And Jake, it's broadcasting identification codes. Stood, his body tense. Jake felt rage and fear flowing from the dragon's mind. The wardens, they survived. After all these centuries, they still hunt us. Who are the wardens? Lisa demanded. His voice was cold as ice. They are the keepers of prisons. They who the warden ship entered orbit like a black knife cutting through space. It was sleek and deadly, covered in symbols that made Jake's skin crawl just looking at them. The ship was smaller than a human cruiser, but somehow more threatening. A transmission came through to the station. The voice was cold and mechanical, speaking perfect galactic standard. "Attention, human facility. I am keeper of the wardens. You are harboring an escaped prisoner designated. Surrender the prisoner within 1 hour or face destruction." Lisa stood in the station's command center, surrounded by screens showing the alien ship. Jake and were beside her. Every worker on the station was listening to the transmission. This is Station Director Lisa Grant. We don't recognize your authority. The Empire fell thousands of years ago. Your prisoner designations mean nothing to us. The Empire's laws are eternal, replied. They are dangerous criminals. We have maintained order for 3,000 years. Now give us the prisoner or your station will be eliminated as an example. Jake spoke up before Lisa could respond. Is not a criminal. He fought against oppression. You imprisoned him because he wouldn't be your weapon. That's not justice. There was silence. Then's voice returned, somehow even colder. A human speaks for a you do not understand what you have freed. The destroyed entire fleets. They the natural order where the strong rule the weak. They had to be contained. The natural order? Lisa's voice was sharp with anger. You're talking about slavery and conquest. Humanity doesn't bow to threats, and we don't hand over refugees. You have 1 hour to leave our space. More silence. Jake could see the tension in everyone around him. The station had defensive shields and a few weapons, but nothing that could fight a warship designed by an advanced civilization. This response came with visible anger even through the audio. You are a young species playing at being powerful. You will learn. 1 hour. Though the transmission ended, Lisa immediately started giving orders. Evacuate all non-essential personnel to the transport ships. Get the civilians to safety first. Everyone else battle stations. Jake felt's presence in his mind. They will not wait an hour. The wardens were always cruel. They will attack soon to create fear. How do you know? Because I fought them for 200 years before they captured me. I know their tactics. True to prediction, 20 minutes later the warden ship fired. A beam of blue energy lanced down and destroyed an unmanned mining platform in orbit. The explosion lit up the sky. That voice returned. That was a demonstration. In 40 minutes, your station will look the same. Surrender the command center erupted in activity. Workers scrambled to reinforce shields and charge weapons. But Jake could see the fear in their eyes. They were miners and scientists, not soldiers. Lisa looked at. Can you fight them? I can try, but I have been imprisoned for 3. I am weak. That ship has weapons designed to kill. You don't have to fight, Jake said quickly. We can evacuate you with the others, find somewhere to hide. This laugh echoed in Jake's mind, bitter and sad. Hide? I am 40 feet long and shine like a star. There is nowhere I can hide in this galaxy, and I will not abandon those who stood for me. Jake grabbed Lisa's arm. Don't give in to them. Bullies only get worse when you surrender. If we give them what's to stop them from demanding more, from attacking anyway? Lisa met his eyes. She looked tired but determined. I know I wasn't going to hand him over. Humanity didn't reach the stars by bowing to threats. She raised her voice to address the whole command center. Listen up, everyone. I know you're scared. I am too. But we've got someone here who needs protection. Someone who was tortured for thousands of years just for standing up to tyrants. If we give in now, we're no better than the wardens, so we fight. And cheers erupted from the workers. These were frontier people, independent and stubborn. They had come to the edge of known space to be free. They understood what Lisa was saying. He was silent for a moment. Then his voice filled everyone's mind, powerful and grateful. I have lived for over 3,000 years. I have seen civilizations rise and fall, but never have I seen a species stand together to protect someone not their own. You honor me, humans. If I survive this day, I will remember you all. Jake felt something shift in the room. Fear was still there, but also pride and determination. The workers moved with new purpose, preparing for battle. Lisa said, "If you're willing to fight, we need you in space. Our weapons alone won't stop that ship, but maybe together we have a chance." The dragon stood, his massive form towering over everyone. "I will need Jake's permission. I swore to follow his judgment." Everyone looked at Jake. The young smith felt the weight of the moment. He was deciding whether to send his friend into battle, but he was also deciding whether to let bullies win through fear. "Fight," Jake said firmly. "Not because you owe me anything, but because it's right. Show them that freedom is worth defending." Bowed his great head to Jake. Then he turned and walked toward the station's main airlock. Workers scrambled to open the massive doors. Jake followed, unable to just stay behind. He watched as stood at the edge of space, the stars visible beyond him. Be careful," Jake said. "Always, friend Jake. And if I fall today, know that these 3 days of freedom were worth all the centuries in darkness." Then leaped into space. Energy flared around his body, creating a shield that let him survive in the void. He flew like a meteor, faster than Jake thought possible. Jake ran back to the command center to watch the battle on screens. Accelerated toward the warden ship, his body glowing with purple and blue light. The ship's weapons opened fire immediately. Energy beams cut through space, tracking movements. But the dragon was fast, dodging with the skill of centuries of combat experience. He rolled and dived, avoiding most of the fire. When beams did hit, his shields flared but held. Reached weapons range and opened his massive jaws. Blue energy erupted from his mouth in a focused blast. It struck the warden ship's shields, making them flicker. Inside the command center, everyone watched in awe. Was fighting like the ancient warrior he was, making a warship struggle to track him. But Jake could see the problem. Every blast fired drained his energy. Every hit he took weakened his shields. The warden ship was barely damaged. More weapons emerged from the ship's hull. Smaller turrets that could track faster targets. They opened fire together, dozens of beams creating a net of death. Roared, the sound somehow carrying even in the vacuum of space. He took hits to his side, his shields failing in spots. Jake saw scorch marks appear on the dragon's scales. He's getting hurt, Jake said desperately. We have to help him. Lisa was already acting. All weapons fire on that ship. Target their guns, not their shields. Make them split their attention. The station's defensive weapons opened fire. Missiles and energy beams reached out toward the warden ship. Most were intercepted or absorbed by shields, but a few got through, forcing the ship to maneuver. It helped, but not enough. The wardens had been hunting for 3,000 years. They knew how to fight them. A keeper's voice came over communications again. Foolish, the weakens. Soon he will fall, and then your station follows. You could have survived by being obedient. Jake watched take another hit, this one piercing his shields completely. The dragon's movements slowed. He was running out of strength. Then new alerts sounded. 3 contacts appeared on long-range sensors, moving fast, very fast. Lisa's eyes widened. Those are human military signatures. The distress signal I sent, someone responded. The 3 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel between the station and the warden vessel. They were human warships, smaller than the alien craft, but modern and well-armed. A new voice came over communications, calm and confident. This is Captain Blake of the UHS Defiance. We received a distress signal about hostile action against a human facility. Any attack on human assets will be considered an act of war. The warden ship stopped firing at. Keeper responded, his voice showing surprise for the first time. This does not concern you humans. We are reclaiming our prisoner under ancient law. Your empire is dead, Captain Blake replied. Your laws have no standing. The being you're attacking has claimed asylum with humanity. Leave now or face the consequences. Retreated toward the human ships, his body still glowing but clearly damaged. Jake felt relief flood through him. His friend was alive. But Keeper was not done. You dare threaten us? Your species has barely reached the stars. We commanded empires when your world was primitive. Stand aside or be destroyed with the rest. Captain Blake's response was immediate. I don't think so. All ships lock weapons on that vessel. If the Warden ship's first barrage struck the UHS Defiance's shields with terrifying force, the human warship rocked from the impact, its defensive screens glowing white-hot under the assault. The other two human vessels, the Ranger and the Frontier, returned fire immediately. Jake watched from the command center as missiles and energy beams filled the space around the station. The human weapons were modern and well-designed, but the technology was thousands of years more advanced. Every shot from the Warden ship hit with devastating precision. Captain Blake's voice came through the communications channel, steady despite the chaos. All ships, pattern Delta 7, don't give them a stable target. The three human vessels split apart, moving in coordinated patterns that made them harder to track. They kept firing, their combined assault forcing the Warden ship to divert power to shields. Had retreated near the station, his body still glowing but dimmer now. Jake could feel the dragon's exhaustion through their mental link. 3,000 years in prison had left him weak. He needed time to recover, time they did not have. The Warden ship launched fighters, small craft that swarmed out like angry insects. They were fast, faster than anything Jake had seen before. The fighters engaged the human ships, adding their firepower to the main vessel's assault. A missile got through the Ranger's shields. The explosion tore into the ship's hull, venting atmosphere and debris into space. Jake saw escape pods launching, crew abandoning the damaged sections. They're killing them, Jake whispered. He turned to Lisa. We have to do something. We're doing all we can, Lisa said, but her voice was tight with frustration. Our weapons aren't strong enough to hurt that ship. Jake looked at the screen showing. The dragon was watching the battle, his golden eyes tracking every movement. Jake could feel something building in his mind, not exhaustion anymore, Anger. Growing, burning anger. Humans die for me's voice filled Jake's thoughts. These people I do not know fighting to protect my freedom. The wardens hurt them to punish me. It's not your fault, Jake said out loud, not caring that others heard him talking to empty air. They chose to fight, we all did. But I was a guardian once. I protected the weak from predators like the wardens. I have been weak too long. On the screen, the Frontier took heavy damage. Half its weapons went dark. The ship was still fighting, but barely. Jake Felt's decision before the dragon announced it. No, you're not recovered enough. I have waited 3,000 years. I have been patient. But the wardens have reminded me who I was, who I am. They want to see a monster. I will show them the guardian lord they could never truly chain. This body erupted with light. Not the dim glow from before, but a blazing corona of energy that made the station's sensors scream warnings. The dragon had been conserving strength, holding back. Now he released everything. Jake watched in awe as transformed. Energy wreathed his body like purple and blue flames. His scales began to glow from within, each one shining like a jewel. His eyes blazed gold, bright as small suns. Launched himself toward the battle. His speed was impossible, faster than the fighters, faster than missiles. He became a comet of living fury. The Warden fighters that had been attacking the human ships suddenly had a new target. They turned to engage, weapons firing. The dragon tore through them like they were paper. His claws ripped fighters apart. Energy blasts from his mouth destroyed entire squadrons. A keeper's voice came through the communications, shocked. Impossible. No should have this much power after imprisonment. What are you? This response echoed across every communication channel. I am guardian lord of the... You imprisoned my body but never broke my spirit. You killed my people but I remember them. And now you attack those who showed me kindness. For that you will answer. The dragon turned his attention to the warden ship itself. He flew straight at it, ignoring the weapon's fire that hammered his shields. When he reached the hull, he did not slow down. Crashed through the ship's shields and smashed into the armored hull. His claws found purchase, tearing into the metal. The ship rocked from the impact. He's boarding them, Lisa said, disbelief in her voice. He's going inside. On the sensors, Jake could track progress through the Warden ship. The dragon ripped through corridors, his massive body crushing everything in his path. Energy blasts from his mouth melted bulkheads. The wardens tried to stop him with internal defenses, but nothing could slow him down. The human ship stopped firing, not wanting to hit. They held position, weapons ready, waiting to see what happened. Deep inside the warden ship found the command center. The door was armored, designed to stop any assault. Did not bother with the door. He came through the wall. A keeper stood in the center of his command bridge, wearing power armor that made him 8 feet tall. Ancient weapons charged in his hands. Around him, Warden soldiers aimed their guns at the hole had created. "You cannot win," said. "Even if you kill me, more wardens will come. We are eternal. We are order." Pulled himself fully into the command center, his size making the large room feel small. "You are not eternal. You are old tyrants trying to hold onto power you no longer deserve. The galaxy has moved on. Your empire is dust. But you cannot let go, so you hurt and imprison anyone who challenges you. We maintain stability," insisted. "The were chaos. You and your kind refused the natural hierarchy. The strong must rule. That is universal law." This laugh was bitter. "I have seen your stability, Warden. I spent 3,000 years in your idea of order, darkness and silence and endless pain. But one human, one simple metal worker, showed me more kindness in 3 days than your empire showed in 3. Humans are weak, sentimental, they will learn." "No," said quietly, "you will learn. Jake freed me not for power or advantage, but because it was right. The humans on this station stood against your threats to protect someone not their own. They risk death for a stranger. That is not weakness. That is strength you will never understand." Raised his weapons, then die understanding nothing. The battle in the command center was short and brutal. Was a skilled warrior in advanced armor. His soldiers were trained and loyal, but they were fighting a who had survived the wars that destroyed an empire. It was a storm of claws and energy and ancient rage. His tail smashed through soldiers. His breath melted armor. His shields turned aside their weapons. In less than a minute, every soldier was down. They fought on alone, his armor damaged but still functional. He got in several good hits, burning marks into scales. But the dragon had 3,000 years of anger to fuel him. His claws caught and lifted him off the ground. The keeper struggled but could not break free. Brought the warden close, their faces inches apart. You wanted to imprison me again, to continue the torture because that is all you know. But I am done being your prisoner, and I am done letting you hurt innocent people. Kill me then, spat. Prove you are the monster we always said you were. It was silent for a long moment. Jake, watching through the ship's sensors, held his breath. He reached out through their mental link. You don't have to kill him. You're better than them. I want to admit it. I want him to suffer as I suffered. I know, but you told me you were a guardian. You protected people. That's not the same as being a killer. More silence, then threw across the command center. The keeper crashed into a console and lay still, alive but unconscious. I spare you, Warden, not because you deserve mercy, but because my friend reminded me who I am. Tell your people they are done being your prisoners. If you come for us again, we will not be so kind. And tore his way back out of the ship and returned to space. The warden vessel was crippled, fires burning through multiple decks. It limped away, moving slowly toward the edge of the system. The dragon flew back toward Forge Station 7, his energy fatting now that the battle was over. Jake ran to the main airlock to meet him. Landed heavily, his body smoking, but he was alive. Jake reached out and touched the dragon's massive head. Oh, you did it. You're safe. They for now replied, but the wardens will return. I have brought war to your people, Jake. I am sorry. Don't be. You brought them a reminder that some things are worth fighting for. Freedom, justice, protecting those who can't protect themselves. Captain Blake's ship docked with the station an hour later. The captain was tall and serious, his uniform showing signs of the recent battle. He met with Jake, Lisa, and in a hastily arranged meeting. That was quite a fight, Blake said, looking at with respect. I've never seen anything like you. I am the last of my kind, said to all of them, or I thought I was. But your intelligence teams found something on the warden ship, something that changes everything. Blake nodded grimly. We recovered their data banks before they fled. They have records of other imprisoned. dozens of them locked away in hidden facilities across unexplored space. Jake felt surge of hope and pain. My people, they survived. The wardens have kept them prisoner all this time, Blake continued. And now that one has escaped with human help, they're going to increase security. Maybe even kill the prisoners rather than risk more escapes. Jake stood up. Then we have to free them, all of them, before the wardens can react. 2 weeks after the battle, Jake found himself standing before the Galactic Council. The chamber was massive, filled with representatives from hundreds of species. All of them were looking at him like he was either a hero or a dangerous fool. Beside him stood the first to appear before the council in 3,000 years. The dragon's presence made many of the representatives nervous. Some species remembered the old stories about the wars. Others only knew the propaganda. The council speaker, a tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms, addressed Jake directly. Jake of Earth, you stand accused of releasing a dangerous prisoner without authority. You have potentially started a conflict that could spread across the galaxy. What do you have to say? Jake took a deep breath. He had prepared a speech but decided to just speak from his heart. I freed because it was the right thing to do. He was not a criminal. He was a prisoner of war locked away for refusing to be a weapon. The Empire fell thousands of years ago, but they kept him in darkness and pain. Nobody deserves that, not for 3,000 years, not for any amount of time. The records call him dangerous, another council member said. They warn against releasing him. How do you know he will not become a threat? Because I talked to him, Jake replied simply. Because I spent time with him and learned who he is. Protected innocent people from conquest. That's why they imprisoned him. If defending the weak is a crime, then I don't understand your justice system. Murmurs ran through the council chamber. Some species seemed moved by Jake's words. Others looked angry or afraid. Spoke then, his telepathic voice reaching every mind in the chamber. I am last guardian lord of the, what Jake says is truth. My people stood against the Empire when they tried to enslave entire civilizations. We fought for 200 years to protect the weak. When we lost, they did not simply kill us. They imprisoned us in crystal tombs to break our spirits and serve as warnings. And if we free you, what then? The council speaker asked. Will you seek revenge? Will you threaten the peace? I want only what Jake gave me. Freedom. The right to exist without chains. If the wardens leave us alone, I will leave them alone. But I know my people. There are dozens still imprisoned, suffering as I suffered. I cannot ignore their pain. The council debated for hours. Jake sat and waited, watching the various species argue. Some wanted to imprison again, seeing him as too dangerous to leave free. Others, especially species who had suffered under various empires, supported Jake's actions. Finally, the council speaker announced their decision. We cannot condone the release of prisoners without proper authority. However, we recognize that the Empire's laws no longer apply. Will remain free, under the condition that he does not attack Council member species. As for the other imprisoned, we will send diplomatic missions to negotiate their release. Diplomatic missions will take years, Jake protested. By then, the wardens might have killed them or moved them. That is our decision, the speaker said firmly. We cannot authorize military action based on records from a hostile ship. There must be proper process. Jake felt frustration burning in his chest. He understood rules and process, but those prisoners did not have time. He looked at who seemed resigned to the council's bureaucracy. After the hearing, Captain Blake found Jake in a corridor outside the chamber. I know that did not go how you wanted. They're going to let those die while they argue about proper procedure, Jake said bitterly. Blake smiled slightly. Maybe the council will, but humanity is not part of the council yet. We are still independent, and we have the coordinates of those prison facilities from the warden ship's data banks. Jake looked at him hopefully. You mean... I mean that Forge Station 7 has requested military protection due to the warden threat. My fleet is assigned to patrol that sector. If we happen to investigate some old ruins while on patrol, well, that's just being thorough. Jake grinned. Thank you, Captain. Thank you, Jake. You reminded us why we explore space in the first place. Not to conquer or control, but to make things better. Over the next 3 months, Jake became part of a strange new mission. Human ships, guided by knowledge, traveled to hidden facilities across unexplored space. At each location, they found more imprisoned. The liberation missions were dangerous. The wardens had left automated defenses at each prison. Some facilities were booby-trapped to kill the prisoners if anyone tried to free them. But Jake's skill with ancient technology, combined with understanding of systems, allowed them to safely disable the prisons. The first they freed was named. He was smaller than with scales like emerald and gold. When the crystal prison shattered, collapsed crying. He had been imprisoned for 2,800 years. Jake gave him water and food, just as he had done for. The dragon looked at Jake with wonder. A human. Humans freed me. His mental voice was confused and grateful. But why? What do you gain? Nothing, Jake said. We're just doing what's right. By the time 3 months passed, they had freed 7 in total. Each one was amazed by humanity's kindness. None of them could understand why a young species would risk war to free beings they did not know. The freed gathered at Forge Station 7 for a council. Jake was invited to attend, the only non-present. He felt tiny standing among the massive dragons, but they treated him with deep respect. We must decide our future, said to the assembled group. The galaxy has changed in 3,000 years. We are few now, scattered and weak. What should we do? Some wanted to hide, to find a quiet corner of space and live in peace. Others wanted revenge against the wardens for their suffering. The debate grew heated. Finally, a female named spoke. She was the oldest, over 4,000 years old. Her scales were silver and white. I have listened to all of you, but I think we forget something important. We were guardians once. We protected the weak. That is what made us different from if we hide or seek only revenge, we abandon who we were. But the galaxy did not save us. Another dragon protested. Why should we serve it again? The galaxy did not save us, agreed. But humans did. Jake and his people risked everything to free prisoners they did not know. They showed us the kind of beings we used to protect. Perhaps there is hope here. Looked at Jake. What do you think, friend Jake? You freed us. What would you have us do? Jake thought carefully before answering. I think you should do what makes you happy. You've earned the right to peace if you want it. But I also think the galaxy needs guardians, not masters or conquerors, but protectors. There are still bullies out there like the wardens, still species that need help. And humans asked, what role would your people have in this? Partners, Jake said immediately. Not servants, not masters. Partners who stand together to protect those who can't protect themselves. The debated through the night. By morning, they had reached a decision. 6 of the 7 chose to work with humanity. Only one, an old male who wanted only peace, chose to depart and live quietly. The partnership was formalized in a ceremony at Forge Station 7. Humans and together created what they called the Guardian Alliance. It was not a military force or a government. It was simply an agreement to help those in need and stand against oppression. Jake returned to his work as a metal worker, though his life had changed forever. He created special equipment for using his skills to craft tools that enhanced their natural abilities. Stayed near Jake's station, the 2 friends working together. One day, while Jake was in his workshop crafting a new focusing crystal for energy projection, Lisa came to find him. Jake, we have a situation. Well, what kind of situation? Long-range sensors picked up a transmission. It's in ancient code. Someone is calling for help. Jake found and showed him the transmission. The dragon's eyes widened. This signal is from the deep core regions, places even the wardens fear to go. But the code is genuine. More of my people are out there. Then we go get them, Jake said simply. Captain Blake arrived with 3 ships within a day. The fleet prepared for departure. As Jake packed his tools, landed beside him. Are you certain about this, friend Jake? The deep core is dangerous. We may not return. Jake smiled. You taught me that some things are worth fighting for. Freedom is one of them. Besides, you're stuck with me now. But I do not want you in danger. And I don't want more suffering in prisons. So we're both stuck wanting to protect each other. This laughter filled Jake's mind, warm and genuine. You are a strange human, Jake, but I am grateful for the day you found my prison. Me too, friend. The ships departed Forge Station 7, heading toward unknown space. Jake stood on the bridge of Captain Blake's ship, looking out at the stars. Flew alongside, his scales shining in the light of distant suns. Behind them, other freed followed, each one choosing to be part of the mission. Others whose names Jake was still learning. All of them free because one metal worker decided to do the right thing. The wardens were out there somewhere, angry and planning revenge. But Jake was not afraid. He had friends beside him, both human and, together they would face whatever came. As the fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, Jake received a mental message from, Thank you, Jake, for everything, for freedom, for friendship, for reminding me that good beings still exist in this galaxy." Jake smiled and sent back his own thought. "Thank you for giving me a purpose beyond just making things, for showing me that standing up to bullies matters, for being my friend." The stars streaked past as they traveled to find more prisoners, more beings who deserved freedom. The Guardian Alliance was small, but it was growing. And somewhere in the depths of space, the Wardens were learning a hard lesson. Freedom, once given, could never be taken back without a fight. And those who stood for it would always find allies willing to stand beside them. The story of Jake and was just beginning, but across the galaxy word was spreading. They were free. Humanity stood with them, and together they would remind the universe what true guardianship meant. Not rule, not conquest, just the simple courage to do what was right even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. That was the real strength of the Guardian Alliance. Not power or weapons or ancient knowledge. Just beings who believed freedom was worth defending, standing together against the darkness. And in the vastness of space, that was enough. Blake looked at him seriously. "Jake, you just started something much bigger than freeing one prisoner. Are you ready for what comes next? Because this is going to be war." Jake looked at his friend who had suffered so long. Then at Blake and Lisa and all the humans who had stood against tyranny. "Yes," Jake said firmly. "I'm ready, we all are." The fire, we respond with everything we have. The standoff hung in the balance. The Warden ship against 3 human warships and a wounded but still dangerous. Jake held his breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The Keeper made his choice. "You will regret this, humans. The Wardens do not forget insults. We will return." The Warden ship opened fire, not at this time, but at the human fleet. The battle exploded across the space around Forge Station 7, and Jake knew nothing would ever be the same again. "Decade away, my people, they who torture in the name of order, and they will not allow us to remain free." Jake stood beside his hand on the dragon's leg. Then we'll fight them. You're not going back in a cage, I promise you that. Looked down at Jake, something like hope in his ancient eyes. You would stand against them, for me. Yes, and I don't think I'll be alone. Lisa was already on her communicator, calling the station to battle readiness. All around them, alarms began to sound. The wardens were coming, and Forge Station 7 was preparing for war. Jake's hands shook. He steadied them and nodded at the creature. He could not speak back the same way, so he just said the words out loud. I'm working on it. Hold on. I'm going to get you out. The golden eyes blinked once slowly, then closed them again, conserving energy. But Jake felt something change in the air. The creature knew help was coming. After thousands of years alone, someone had finally come. Jake went back to work with new determination. He would free. Whatever happened after that, whatever consequences he faced, at least he would know he did the right thing. The energy cores hummed around him as he worked through the night. In the crystal prison waited. Freedom was coming at last.